morning. Really pleased that it's crowded. We need to warm up a little bit. We had dared to leave our coats in the corner. It was not good to be on the stage with it, but really welcome. My name is Giusy Bettoni. I'm a consultant, sustainability consultant to Première Vision for the Smart Creation. That is a group that is dedicated to create in a smart way. Smart means something that has to be design-driven, something innovative, and at the same time responsible. That is the paradigm we are looking at. And really pleased to be here this morning for the first session, because now more than ever, responsibility has been integrated. Just going around the forum, just going around to every producer, the integration is really starting in a great way. And this first session, it's about one of the most important, let's say, analysis study platform that are working on is another item that is circular economy. And we will do with two friends, but at the same time colleagues. So really pleased to welcome Lukas Fuchs. That's the right way to say your name. Lukas is a research analyst of Make Fashion Circular. So he has been involved in writing a new textile economy, redesign fashion future, really important for our target today. And everything that is talking about the role of making really fashion circular, it's something really important for MacArthur. But at the same time, today we will focus on something where Lukas has been working in the last year or 2 years. Last year, that is redesign the really jeans, market. So we will have also Fabrizio with us, and but let's start maybe with the first part where Lukas will take us through MacArthur Foundation and the project. Thanks.
Thank you for your kind introduction. Thanks for the huge turnout. It's a great pleasure to be here to talk to you today. Can you hear me well?
No.
Just going to take that microphone instead. Is that better? Okay. So, thanks again for welcoming me to Denim Première Vision, and thanks for all of you for turning up today. Like Giusy already said, I work for the MacArthur Foundation. It's almost 3 years now that I've been working for this incredible organization, and we are working on the circular economy mainly, and the main Fashion Circular Initiative obviously has a focus on fashion, and for the last year I've mainly focused on our project, Jeans Redesign. So the MacArthur Foundation was set up about 10 years ago. Ellen herself was a sailor at the time. She didn't have anything to do with the economy, but while she was sailing around the world, what she experienced is the true meaning of scarcity and finite. So she was sailing around the world by herself. So everything that she had on board is everything that she could use for the next 60 to 80 days, depending on how fast she would go around the world. And she had to make the most out of all these resources that she had on board. And it wasn't until she came back to the Isle of Wight in the UK, south of Southampton, where we are still headquartered, that she really understood the true meaning of what that meant, finite. And she started to think about how we are doing business today in our economy. And she soon came to realize that what we are basically doing today is to throw supplies overboard. We just take a lot of resources, we make products, we use them for a very short amount of time, and then they end up in landfill and incineration. So she decided to change careers. She stopped being a sailor, she still sails today, but not competitively anymore, and decided to change the way that the economy works from a little island south of the UK. So that's why I'm here today, 10 years later, to talk to you about jeans. Before I get into the topic, I just want to walk you through from a higher level, from the economy level, then to the fashion industry level, and then down to what that means for jeans. At the foundation, we are about 130 people. Most of us are located in the UK, about 100, but we also have a team in China, we have a team in Brazil, and we have a team in the US. And we work across a couple of different areas. We work with institutions, governments, and cities. We work with businesses. We have a platform called the Circular Economy 100, where we bring together many companies from different areas, different industries that work together on similar opportunities and challenges that they are facing on their way to transitioning to becoming a circular business. We work in insights and analysis, and the main thing that we are doing at the foundation in that part is to really quantify the economic opportunity of the circular economy. That means we want to show that there's not only a better way for the environment of doing business, but that this one is actually also profitable and makes business sense. Then we also work in learning. We work with schools, colleges, universities, but also professional learners who want to learn about the circular economy and what it means. We work in circular design. We have developed a circular design guide, which is not only for fashion, but it's a bit more broader. And of course, also in communications. So we want to spread the message of the circular economy, and we want to share all the insights that we are gathering with our insights and analysis team. And then we have something that we call systemic initiatives. This is also what the fashion initiative is a part of. And with the systemic initiatives, we really look at one specific industry, and we analyze, for example, the material flow and the way that business is done within that industry. And then we develop a vision for what a circular economy for that industry could look like. And then we work with all the businesses together to make that vision a reality. The first systemic initiative that we started was plastics, and you might have heard about the global commitment. It's a huge success for the MacArthur Foundation. We have more than 20%, we managed to get more than 20% of the global plastics packaging market to committing themselves to only producing plastic packaging that is recyclable, biodegradable, or reusable. And that's by 2025. And that means a huge redesign effort for many companies, because at the moment, plastics packaging is not designed for recycling or biodegradability or compostability. So based on the success that we have with plastics, we started our second systemic initiative, which is fashion. And now in the meantime, we have started a third systemic initiative on cities and food. And now we also have started to look into finance. So, maybe some of you have heard someone at the foundation speak about the circular economy before, so they will know that picture. Please be quiet. For the rest, who knows what that is? Absolutely. So that lamp has been burning for more than 100 years, and it's got its own webcam. You can watch it online. Why am I showing this to you? More than 100 years ago, we were capable of building durable products, but that didn't make business sense back in the day. So a big cartel of the largest light bulb manufacturers came together and said, we can't do this anymore, we're not selling any light bulbs. So they came together and said, okay, we're limiting the life of our light bulbs to 1,000 hours, and we are actually monitoring each other, and we are actually putting fines on each other if we are building better quality products. This is the paveway to what we call as the linear economy. A linear economy is one that is based on, we take materials off the ground, we make a product from it, we use the product for an ever shorter amount of time these days, and then we waste it. And it's represented by an arrow. It's linear, one way. And like the overwhelming majority of materials end up in landfill and incineration. The idea of a circular economy is fairly simple. We want to close that circle. We want to use materials longer. We want to keep products in use. So the three principles that we have formulated at Foundation that are the foundation for a circular economy are design out waste and pollution, keep materials in use and products, and regenerate natural systems. They're fairly simple, and they can be represented in what we call is the butterfly diagram. That looks scary at first, I know, it's a complex framework, but no worries, I'm going to walk you through it. And when I walk you through it, I want to invite you to think about two things. The first one is, think about the value chain. So, when we produce jeans, for example, we have a value chain in how the jeans is produced. We start from the cotton fields, we use the fiber, we make a yarn. So that step is adding value, that's why it's called a value chain. So we make the yarn into a fabric, that's adding value. We make the fabric into a garment, that's adding value, and then ultimately we sell it to the customer. So the value crystallizes in us using these products. And that's a value chain. But we can also look at it from a reverse perspective. So we have a finished product. How can we keep that product and the materials in use for as long as possible and maximize the value that we can get from this product? So like I said earlier, today we're using our products for a shorter and shorter amount of time. But we want to change that. And when I walk you through that diagram, there's two things that you should keep in mind as well. One is called the power of the inner loops. The further inside you stay in that diagram, the better. And the power of cycling longer. So now let's take a pair of jeans and walk through this thing. Let's start on the right-hand side. So, again, it's about value. We want to maximize the value of a pair of jeans. So, I have a pair of jeans, and I wear it, and I wear it, and I wear it. And at some point, I might not like it anymore. So, there's two opportunities that I have. Either I can trash it, if I want, I can bring it to a charity shop, or I can create value for myself. So I share it, I sell it, and someone else can use it for longer and longer and longer. But there might be a point in time when zip breaks, button breaks, or whatever. So we can repair it, and again, preserve the value of the entire product for longer, so we can use it longer. But there might be a point in time where bigger parts of the product break, but we can maybe still reuse parts of that jeans, so we can cut it at the seams and reuse the panels and make a new pair of jeans from it. There's a company in Los Angeles called Redone who actually do this for a living. They search for old vintage Levi's jeans, they just reuse the panels of that jeans, and then they sell it for double the price. So that's creating economic value. And only ultimately when we cannot reuse the entire product or parts of the product, then we can go into recycling and still reuse the material of that product and keep it in the economy for as long as possible. And I'm sure Fabrizio has to say a lot about this in a bit. So this is the butterfly diagram, and another important side is the left side of this diagram, which is the bio side. So when we use natural products, we should ensure that we can safely return these products to the biosphere. Especially in fashion, a lot of blends are used these days. If we cannot separate the plastic from the natural fibers, this will not safely biodegrade. The cotton or the lyocell, it might break down, but the plastic stays. So we need to design with biodegradability in mind as well. And I mentioned earlier that this is an economic opportunity. And for Europe, we have actually quantified that if we take measures and actions to move towards a circular economy, there is a 1.8 trillion euro opportunity in development for European business, and it's on the streets to be captured. And companies are starting to do this. So I told you about the light bulb earlier. Let's close the circle on that one and look at what Philips is doing these days. At Schiphol Airport, Philips is actually owning the light bulbs. So Schiphol Airport uses a pay-per-looks model. So they are only interested in that the airport is light. They don't want to have to do anything with the light bulb business or anything. So they say to Philips, you just guarantee us that the airport will be light, full stop. So now Philips owns the light bulbs, Philips owns the lighting system, etc. And the entire incentive system changes. Now Philips is interested in producing a high-quality lighting system that they can use for as long as possible because they generate more revenue from the same product. And also they're interested in designing their product so that they can recapture all the materials and make it into a new light bulb. So by doing that, the entire incentive system has changed. So this is the general circular economy idea. Now let's look at the fashion industry in a bit more detail. And this is the material flow analysis that we do for new textiles economy. And think about the arrow that I showed earlier in the take, make, waste example. This is fairly well represented in the material flow of the fashion industry. 97% of the materials that we are using today to make our clothes come from virgin materials. We have some losses in production. We use the clothes and we use them 40% less than we used to do 15 years ago. At the same time, the production has actually doubled. And then the vast majority of clothing gets landfilled and incinerated within a year, and that translates into 1 garbage truck per second of clothes being burned or landfilled. It's 1 garbage truck per second. And only less than 1% of our clothes today get recycled into new clothes. So this looks a bit like a grim picture, but we are working on this, and you are working on this as well. And as Make Fashion Circular, we're working across 3 main focus areas. The first one is new business models that increase clothing use. So like I said earlier, how can we capture the most value out of the same product? How can we circulate for longer? The second one is how can we make our product with materials that are safe and renewable? And the third one is how can we design things so that they can be made to be made again? And again, we're looking at the economic opportunity, and for the fashion industry, this translates into $560 opportunity, $1 billion opportunity per year, and that comes from clothes that are used more, and that also comes from materials that are reclaimed to make new clothes. And we are working on this with about 50 participants and co-partners. And that's including the entire system, from the raw material manufacturers to the garment manufacturers, brands, collectors, recyclers. So by convening everybody, we can make sure that the entire system is represented, and then we can have everybody at the table. So now what do we have to do? We know that we need to change the way that we are making things. So what better product is there to start than jeans? It's such an iconic product. Everybody has a pair, everybody can relate to it. So this is what we did a year ago. We decided, okay, let's see how we would have to design jeans so that they are made durable and that they can be recycled. And we also created a little image video. The jeans redesign. So what does that mean, redesigning jeans? We started off actually at the end of the supply chain. So we went to the recyclers and asked them, if you want to recycle a pair of jeans, what is your ideal input? And we talked to both the mechanical recyclers, but also to the chemical recycling companies that are now innovating for new ways of recycling. And overwhelmingly so, they said, give me a jeans that is made out of 100% cotton. If you give me a jeans from 100% cotton, my technology will work, my economics will work. That's good, that's what I want. Okay. The landscape out there is slightly different. So what is your tolerance for other fibers that are not cotton? And we got, again, quite a clear picture that 2% non-cellulosic fibers can be tolerated in the vast majority of recycling technologies today. Anything that contains more non-cellulosic fibers is really difficult to recycle. That can be from a technological perspective, but it can also be from a financial perspective, that if you have more plastic fibers, the economics don't make sense anymore. So this is where we started. So we gathered our main Fashion Circular participants and we discussed it. And we went through 6 or 7 iterations. We had an intense design sprint for a day and a half in London, again representing companies from fabric mills, garment manufacturers, brands, recyclers, collectors. And we came up with 4 broad categories that a good pair of jeans that is fit for circular economy should have. And that's durability, material health, recyclability, and traceability. So I'm going to walk you through them one by one. Durability. When we started, we asked our companies, how do you measure durability? And it was to our surprise that we actually stared into blank faces. And it turns out there's no shared common measure or metric for durability in the industry. So we discussed it a lot, and in the end we said we could agree with the group that jeans should be washed for 30 times and still meet the original quality requirements that are set out by brands today. So often, you know this probably very well, jeans are washed for 3 times, 5 times, maybe some wash it for 10 times. So we're upping that game. And secondly, to a large account, our customers are also very important to care correctly for our jeans. So we said we need to inform them better, and we need to tell them that they should wash their jeans as often, that they shouldn't tumble dry them and line dry if possible. So all the brands that are signing the Jeans Redesign will also inform their customers a lot more about how to care for their jeans. Secondly, what does good mean? What does a good material represent? When we talk about material health, the group agreed that jeans should be made from organic cotton, or cotton that comes from regenerative sources. We know that the supply is limited, so we also allowed for in-transition organic cotton. And then we also had to look at the chemical side, and the minimum requirement that was defined here is compliance with ZDHC, manufacturing restricted substances list level 1. There's, for example, CNA, who have committed themselves to go further and actually do their cradle-to-cradle jeans again, which are much more restricted than the chemicals used allowed. On top of that, the use of potassium permanganate is banned, no conventional electroplating is allowed, no stone finishing is allowed, and also sandblasting, which is mostly banned, but we wanted to reinforce that message again. I've also already talked about the recyclability. So one is the fabric that makes up the pair of jeans, but then also we have some other components in the jeans that are non-fabric, like rivets, like zips, etc. All of these make it really difficult for the recyclers and are maybe today not needed anymore, so Bartec can be stronger than a rivet. So we are incentivizing companies to use less rivets to make it easier to recycle the pair of jeans, or develop alternatives that maybe resemble rivets, that look like rivets, but are made from cellulosic materials. So you can just take the pair of jeans, and chuck it into the recycling at the end of life. So now that we are making and creating all these nice jeans, we need to also make it easier for the collectors to find them. So let's say we're all good citizens, so we have a pair of jeans, we don't want it anymore, we bring it to the charity shop, but it might be broken, it might not be able to resell it, so they send it to the collectors. They need to know whether this pair of jeans can be recycled or not. So all the brands and garment manufacturers will put a Jeans Redesign logo on the inside of the waistband of the jeans. So once the jeans end up in collection, the collector can just see, oh, Jeans Redesign, this can go into recycling. We started with the first lot of signatories on the 16th of July this year in New York at Première Vision as well. We had 16 initial signatories that committed to producing 450,000 pairs of jeans that are guideline compliant by May 2021. And I have two messages for you from two of the participants.
It's a very privilege to work on the Denim Design project as part of the MacArthur Foundation. It's commonly known that denim has significant impact on energy consumption, water consumption, and chemical usage. And it's a problem that the industry needs to face and address very, very soon. And it's something that can't be done alone. And therefore, we're very, very grateful to the Foundation for bringing together a group of relevant stakeholders to address these issues in a collaborative way. We look forward to working together to find the necessary solutions.
Well, we all know denim can be a really dirty business. That's why we're actually having this conversation. We launched C-Jeans about a year ago, and when we launched C-Jeans, we actually did it with the utmost regard for the environment. What's crazy is EMF comes along, and this idea of the redesign project. And there were additional challenges, like could we make the hardware better? Like could we even push further with our fabric? The fact that you guys are bringing the whole industry together on this, and we have incredible brands that we're collaborating with on this endeavor is incredible, because we know that real change will come when we all work on this together. And huge thanks to Rev, who really helped us with the electroplating thing on hardware.
And I want to pick up on what you said there. Collaboration really is the key to what we're doing at the Foundation. We are including every step of the supply chain, and we're also encouraging competitors to collaborate on common challenges. So with the Jeans Redesign, there will be a couple of challenges that are popping up, and the brands are actually collaborating on solving them wherever this is a pretty competitive space. And it's my great pleasure today to announce that we have actually signed on further companies, and that we have expanded the opportunity to participate in the Jeans Redesign from brands and garment manufacturers, also to including fabric mills. So today, that one. We have another 7 brands, another 4 mills, 4 garment manufacturers, and 2 companies that have signed up as both fabric mills and garment manufacturers. As you can see, there's Advanced, Artistic Milliners, Ateliers and Repairs, Bamboo Clothing, Blue of a Kind, Cone Denim, Demco, Denim Expert, Denim Village, Fair Blue, I see Frontline, Guess, Outland, House of Gold, Prosperity, Salty. So we are very proud for this announcement. And now we have actually increased the amount of jeans that will be produced by May 2021 to the guidelines to more than 500,000 pairs of jeans. And we are not stopping here. You can still become a part of this project. And I can tell you that we have a lot more brands in the pipeline that are interested in participating in this project. This is our website, Make Fashion Circular. We have a sub-page for the Jeans Redesign where you can download the guidelines for free. We are a registered charity in the UK, so everything that we do is open source and free to participate. So if you are interested in the Jeans Redesign, you can come see me. I will be around today. And you can also write an email into our email box, which is jeans@emf jeans@emf.org. That's jeans@emf.org. Thank you very much for your yeah.
So thank you very much, Lukas. It's really amazing. It's a lot of work, but it's an ongoing innovation, so it's not stopping here. And really pleased because we said from the beginning, this session of Smart Talk here at Denim, we said, if not us, who? Each one of us is called and can do something, around this matter. So, Lukas, if you want to stay around class booth or the PR office, be free, and to meet people. And, and now let's talk to Fabrizio Consoli from Blue of a Kind, quite well known in our area because, we talk about smart, beautiful design, innovation, and responsibility. He's going to share with us today a little bit its, let's say, journey into sustainability, going into the next level because we saw it has been announced as the new partners of Make Circular Fashion. So, can you share with us?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
So, we started Blue of a Kind 3 years ago, and actually, the way we started the brand is trying to...
No.
I think that's better. Do you want to stay next to the light? But it's not, yeah, but it's not going. This is not. And just an information, we will have 10 minutes of question and answer at the end. So more than welcome your question at the end.
Hello. So we started Blue of a Kind 3 years ago, and the idea was to try and work with everything that was already existing, mainly existing garments. And that has been our goal and our project for 3 years, until we met actually, because we actually started talking with the foundation, and they actually raised the bar and we started talking about working with also in a different way. I have a short video that can show you that can actually explain better what we do right now. Or is not familiar with the brand. So I'm going to guide you this few slides very quickly because then we will something different. So nothing is created, nothing is destroyed, everything is transformed. This is the claim we started off with with my business partner when we started the brand. And so we decided basically to work with everything which was already existing, and in particular with existing garments. And the idea was actually to try and change the vision by which traditional fashion works, and starting to work with just in a circular way, basically. And therefore, circular is the main word that we've been using so far. So we're going from a take, make, and dispose way of producing garments to the reduce, and recycle garments. And so what we do, basically, We take jeans, which actually finished garments, in a ratio 1:1. We unstitch them at the seams, and we recreate it with something which is completely new, with new shapes, not new colors, actually we don't actually wash these jeans. And we try to do something which is completely different from what is started before. And the idea was to try and answer the question, does the world need another fashion brand? And the answer for us was clearly no. So this is what we call the revolution of existing, because we use just things that already has expressed their value to the environment in a way. So all the jeans that we do source are actually, I mean, the selection is already part of the creative process. So we don't wash any jeans whatsoever in any way. So the color that you see in the product jeans is always something which has been sourced in the very beginning. And the idea would be, of course, to try reconciling uncompromised style, contemporary fit together with a responsible production process. Of course, all of the jeans that we source do have imperfection and defects, or whatever you want to call it. We don't want to disguise these defects in any way whatsoever, but we want to actually enhance them and actually celebrate these imperfections as beautiful imperfections. So we actually relate to this aesthetic, which is called wabi-sabi, which actually a Japanese aesthetic. So all of our garments are different because they all have a story to tell, because they all have a story of wear that they carry over with these jeans. We produce all of these garments near Milan, where we're based. They're all produced by hand. And the idea would be, of course, to try and reconcile the evocative power that you have in denim. And we all know that denim actually is the rebel garment for everybody, let's say. So we try to mix it with something which is more ours as Italians, so with a tailor approach. So all of the inside is embellished in a way that is like this, looks like this. So we have waistbands, and other details on the inside. So this is our way to upcycle. As I was saying, everything is actually remade in Italy. We call it remade because, of course, everything is made again. And this is a short clip of what the Blue Cat looks like today. I think I can stop here and we can go. So just to maybe introduce the second part. All of this is what we're doing currently. And but as you know, we're doing this with just existing garments. So we wanted to actually be part of the EMF Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation. But there was a challenge. The challenge is how do we actually realize whether there are any chemicals in the jeans that we source from their vintage denim, basically. So how do we find if there is any chemicals? And we're still working on this because we're not sure that all of the garments that we source has no chemical whatsoever. So since the bar was pretty high, from the level of the challenge actually the MacArthur Foundation gave us, we decided to take another step, starting to work with existing fabrics, so leftovers and faulty fabrics. So we're collaborating with a mill right now, and this mill actually provides us with faulty and leftover certified garments, so we do know that there are no chemicals in these garments. So we're working in order to meet all the requirements from the MacArthur Foundation in order to have a garment which is completely recyclable and also knowing that there are no chemicals in it.
If I may explain a bit more the chemicals aspect. So when we recycle, when we use mechanical recycling, if the garments that are recycled come from older sources or have been around for a long time, they have been to almost 100% made with some nasty chemicals, and if we recycle them, the chemicals will not get filtered out. It's a mechanical shredding process and then a respinning process, so the chemicals stay within the clothing. So this was the challenge that Fabrizio mentioned that he has with the vintage garments. So now if we can source dead stock fabrics or faulty fabrics, and we know where these fabrics have been sourced from, this is no longer an issue because we know they have been made with, are compliant with the DHC requirements.
Yes, and basically we go back to one of the key things that without transparency and traceability, we cannot talk about sustainability and measure it as well. Fabrizio, would you like to add something, or just to wrap up, this interesting and complex session at the same time? Would you like to add something?
Yes, we are currently working also with professional. I mean, so far as I told you before, we don't wash our garments. Of course, going into fabric, leftovers of fabric, we'll need to do some sort of process whatsoever. So the challenge will be to try and stay within the limits and the level that the MacArthur Foundation, that actually we share with the MacArthur Foundation. So for this reason, we're working with some professionals in order to try and find a way to make the jeans look as good as the one that we do with the English denim, and at the same time we're still complying with all the circular economy principles.
I think it will be a great one also to communicate to the consumer these new levels of values that are going to be inside of the collection. Yeah. Any other point?
Yeah, and if you think back about the butterfly diagram that I walked you through earlier, and then you can clearly see where Fabrizio is coming in. So we have faulty fabrics, and they would be destined for waste, or for landfill, or for incineration. And what Fabrizio and his company are doing is they're actually creating value from something that is already out there, and that we can do something with, and I find that pretty awesome.
I think we come to the point where, it's up to you to ask a question and any kind of, please, just a second, you have a mic.
Hi, thank you. My name is Katie. Lovely talk. Thank you so much for your contributions. My question is to Fabrizio and your experience with sourcing the fabric, because usually the biggest challenge for taking the garments that are destined for landfill is to intercepting that stream, finding where it's going, where it's flowing, and then taking that and repurposing it into a new garment. So I wonder what was your experience with that process, and how did you went about trying to find your sources of the vintage jeans that you can then?
Well, there are big collecting centers when you're talking about winter garment, and these collecting centers are at least the one that we know all over Europe. There are big ones in the north of France, for example, as well as they are in the center of Italy. So basically, we go there, and it's pretty painful work. Because actually you go one by one. So because again, when I was saying that this is part of the creative process, just because we don't want to take something which looks bad at the very beginning, because since we don't wash it, the outcome will be still something very bad. So the idea will be to try and see through the fabric from what you see actually, a landfill actually, this big collecting center, and trying to see through past them and see something with what can actually this garment become. So this is the process. This is very manual in the way.
Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Shah from Redby Textile, and I just want to ask you a question that regarding the fabric manufacturing after following the MacArthur standards. So do we have any restriction 100% cotton, organic, or like material reutilization and water stewardship and material health altogether for the fabric manufacturing, especially because the denim manufacturing is the dirtiest manufacturing process in our textile, because we are releasing a lot of hazardous chemical in it, and we are using also. So what's your guideline to make sustainable fabric according to MacArthur?
So we actually have developed, so this is the first day actually that we have announced that we have expanded the guidelines to the fabric manufacturing part as well. And the specifications in there are sort of similar to what we are asking of the garment manufacturers, but we have expanded them for the wastewater treatment and the amount of wastewater that is produced to produce a yard of denim fabric. And it's similar. It's the ZTHC guidelines. We have the ZTHC wastewater guidelines and the manufacturing restricted substances list. And the amount of water or the maximum amount of water that should be produced to produce 1 yard of denim fabric was set to 0.025 cubic meters of water. We have a participation form for every fabric mill that is interested in joining this program. And you can just, again, either come to see me and I will share that participation form, or you can send an email to the jeans@emf.org inbox.
Thank you very much.
Hi there. Just a question about how Fabrizio works and what EMF standards or guidelines, how they interact with that. First of all, in the chart that you showed where only 1 or 2% get recycled in 76, or for Fabrizio to exercise his creative choice, doesn't it require that the current situation where the waste is so high, doesn't that help? Sorry, what I'm saying is, isn't it sustainable? Isn't it allowing for his creative choice that there is so much garments to choose from in going into waste? And then secondly, why would you want to restrict him with the chemicals kind of challenge? Because they are not going to get recycled anyway. He's choosing stuff that will be made straight into clothes.
So for the first question, I'm actually going to refer to Fabrizio, and I'm going to add a question on what is the quality that you require to produce your project. So, like you said, it's a painful process. So what are the quality requirements that you have when you're looking for vintage fabrics, etc.? And the second question is, we cannot do anything about the chemicals that are already out there in the market, but we can together make sure that everything that we are producing from today onwards is free of any hazardous chemicals, and that's what the guidelines are about. So we're not restricting anything in the creative process of this.
So I'm afraid I'm not quite clear as the first question. So the question was whether the sourcing process is restricting somehow. Am I wrong? My business is already restricted. We already put ourselves limits, saying that we want to work with something which is already existing. So moving from what we do right now to what MacArthur Foundation share values that we actually share, is just a way to going from a certain type of waste to another type of waste. So we go from post-consumer waste to post-industrial waste in a way. So it's still, we are still in a perimeter which is pretty much strict. But still, we believe that this is the challenge to actually apply our creativity. I know that this answers the question.
Sorry, I jump in just because I hear so much time this was restriction, but it's not a restriction, but it's designing in a different way, because the outcome of this work is something that the consumer is going to wear. And I think the new value that the consumer is looking for are really, and they are speaking very loud at the moment, to get garments that are going to have these new values. And so it's in chemicals, material health I think is critically important, but of course, if I'm really safe from a chemical perspective, I do not want to give up to my style. I do not want to give up to something important. So it's a challenge for the new expression of designer that are coming out. But I think it's not a restriction, it's just to express creativity in a different way. Trying to give what the consumer is looking for, because there is a consumer that is really shouting to say, hey, I'm here, but it's very difficult sometimes to understand what's going on, especially when it comes to chemicals.
And adding to that, I just want to invite you to, again, think about the butterfly diagram. This is what the circular economy is at its core, is to keep products and materials in use for as long as possible, whether that is through remanufacturing and reusing what is already out there, or ultimately through recycling and bringing the materials back to use it. The situation is as it is today, and Fabrizio is one of the people who are actually closing the loop on the materials and keeping the products in the system for longer.
would you be okay if he continues to choose the garment in the current way, regardless of... Don't worry, I can also speak to you.
Can you hear me? Yeah. I'm Al. I actually am a manufacturer, and we bring garments into the UK and Europe. I love the whole idea. I keep my own clothes for as long as possible, rather than bin them, because I think they look better and better as they get older and older. The problem is the retailers chasing numbers. Every meeting I have, it's all about numbers. It's how to get more sales. It's how to get product at a cheaper price and shift it. How are you going to change the mindset of the consumer who wants to buy the cheapest possible price? I'm not going to mention the retailer, but you all know who they are, who are opening more and more stores. It's very difficult. I've got some friends in Italy because I'm part Italian. My Italian friends, the girls, they buy classic garments, pay more money for them, keep them longer. In Britain, I can only speak for Britain, it's a completely different mindset. It's buy as many as you can every single week and then wear them and throw them. So it's a tough one. I love the whole idea, but this is going to take years.
I'm not saying that we're changing the economy overnight, but it is what it is today. And this is why we also have put a key focus on new business models. And we are working with all these big companies as well. And we see it in the news almost every day. The predominant model has been to push up more price, grow internationally, increase the number of seasons that we have, but there's only so far we can go. If we are present everywhere on the planet, and if we're pushing out 60 seasons in a year, there's a natural stop to that growth model. So a lot of companies are looking for alternatives, and you see many startups being very successful with reuse platforms, with resale platforms. Is it customer to customer? You see big retailers opening rental stores now. So change is coming, and it might take some time, but we see many examples of how this is changing in the market. And I think Giusy wanted to add something.
I just want to add that is so true, But it's also true that there are already market research at retailer level. Consumer is there, and we know that we have a consumer that is split into two parts, because there are consumers that are really eager to understand what's going on, and the communication at point of sale is so poor to understand what they buy. That's the first part. And we know that there are consumers that do not care. But if we start to talk to the consumer that care, and we give some answer, because I've been working in this field since 15 years, and the market research since 15 years is saying, where are the garments, where is the communication to tell me, what is going on, and in the true way, because the problem is also the greenwashing. But at the same time, retailers, there is a market research that has been done by the luxury market, so I'm talking really about other kind of values as well. April, and basically, the retailers are really pushing today the brands to do more sustainable things and to talk about it in a true way, not because they become altruistic, because that's the background, because the list engine is saying that 75% of the consumer are going into a retailer asking where are the sustainability. So, and this is not fulfilled at the moment. And we are talking about a list of 80 retailers, US included, so it's not maybe Italy where the retailer system is a little bit different, but UK included. And some retailers has taken out from their list of customers some brands because they couldn't fulfill this. So we are at the early stage, as Lukas was saying, and I'm sure we can see it around. But I think we need to start also not just doing things, but communicating in a good way, because there is too much confusion at the moment. Any other question? Did I see a hand there? Okay. It's really small.
Sorry, my name is Christy from ASOS. My question's for the MacArthur Foundation. You mentioned that the brands involved in the Jeans Redesign project have sewn-in labels to allow recycling collectors to be able to identify the recycled denim. How are the collectors educated to identify those labels to ensure that they're recycled in the correct way?
Because they're part of the project. So many collectors we are in contact with, and they have been part of the development. So they have actually flagged that when we were developing the Jeans Redesign Guidelines and said, we need some help. We are creating 500,000 pairs of awesome jeans that we could easily sort for recycling and make money with that. How are we going to recognize this in this huge pile of clothing that we have to go through every day? And based on that feedback, we said, put a logo on the inside of the jeans, and the collectors and sorters will train their staff on the logo so that they recognize it and send it through the right channels.
So, thank you. I think it's, yes, the right time. We are still around. We are going to see here back at 3:30 with 3 new brand innovative and responsible materials. So see you later. And for anything, we are here. Thanks very much to have been with us. Thanks.